This is how we learn. We have to come in all the contrast. And it's very, very common that we live lives where we aren't in integrity and in the highest good of all. And it's just part of the way it works. We've all come here with a divine purpose, traveling on a stream of cosmic dust from the stars into our mother's wombs, born into this precious life. It is no accident that you are here, my love, on earth, in this moment, in this body. You are here longing to find your place, to align with your purpose, to embody your passions and to live into the dreams of your heart. Yet so often we get caught, suspended in the tangle of life, not able to move forward, not able to find solace and comfort in a world that has forgotten the truth of our existence. As we begin to remember, as we peel back the layers, as we come together to uncover our unique gifts and reconnect with our authentic selves, we are able to see another way of being, a new possibility, a different life waiting to be lived. I have experienced on this complicated and wild journey of life that when we connect with the story of our soul, it will show us the magic of this life that we have been missing. It will open a window into the very heart of who we truly are, of who we came here to be, and gives us answers to our ever-asking why. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back for another incredible episode. Adriane is here with us today, and she is struggling with allowing the abundance in her life to fully permeate her being. She has chosen a life where she runs a business that is supporting others. And because of this, the universe is blessing her with abundance. Yet she is having a hard time soaking it all in and feeling safe inside of the life she's created. What we dive into in this reading is the importance of having a committed, prioritized spiritual practice. Adriane has her life that is all the giving and the doing, and yet there's this part of her soul that is craving more of a spiritual life. And because of this, she's feeling out of balance and not able to absorb all the gifts the universe is giving her because she's keeping things separate. She's doing either or. And we get to live in a world that's both and. And for those of us, right, that we're on this deep spiritual journey, this part of us, this part of our soul is yearning for us to merge our worlds, to not keep what we do as our livelihood and our connection to our family separate from this experience of exploring ourselves as souls, as divine beings here on a journey. We dive into some past lives in this call because what we can see is that these past lives are referencing Adriane's current life and are adding to the anxiety and the questioning that she's going through. And so really seeing how the lives that we choose are connected to what our soul is here to learn, and whether we choose a life where we are truly in scarcity and poverty versus a life where we have enough and yet we're constantly in fear of losing it. And oftentimes that can be related to, one, maybe how we grew up, but definitely other lives where we had less or we struggled and we found that safety, security, especially in the financial aspect, was challenged. The magic lies in when we stop holding all the parts of us as separate and where we start integrating all of the parts, all of the ways of being, all of what we are being led to do as a soul, where we start bringing those all together and we stop trying to live them as separate lives and parts of ourselves. We also in this call look at how the collective mind captures us. And so often we are not even thinking thoughts that belong to us. We are thinking thoughts of the collective mind, and those can create a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of unrest and uncomfortableness because we are not in our center. We're not able to stay connected to what is our truth and our authenticity and realize that what is happening to us actually is not ours. And we don't have the skills necessary or the energetic structure in our body put together enough that we can keep that outside of us. So having this commitment to a meditation practice, a spiritual practice, a self-evaluation and discovery practice gives us the bandwidth and the capacity to see something different and to lean into the places that keep us separate and have an understanding of what is going on so that we can find the wholeness, the oneness, the connectedness, interconnectedness, right underneath it all. So that's a really beautiful reading, dives deep into these topics. So as you're listening, right, think about what are those places that you keep yourself separate. How are you living two lives? One that's your spiritual life and then one that's your quote unquote real life. And where are those connection points? How can you bring them together? How can you prioritize the merging of these parallel existences that you are inside of? Also, as the show is reaching its 4-year mark, we are really committed to having it touch more people's lives. People just like you that need a little more support, need some direction, need a place to anchor themselves. And so in an effort to do this, we are looking for ratings and reviews because this is one of the main ways that shows can grow. And so we are reaching out to you, our devoted listeners, to help us with this project. So what we are doing is hosting a giveaway, and the prizes are free intuitive readings with me, held privately. So similar to the podcast, yet you get alone time with me to process, to receive guidance, understanding, work through your challenges, not recorded, not on air. Doing these mini readings is one of my favorite things that I do, and I would love to offer this space to you. So to enter for the giveaway, and we're giving away 2 free calls to 2 different winners. And as a third prize, we are offering you the choice of our Intuitive Soul Awakening self-study course or the Activate the Intuitive Language of Your Soul self-study course. So lots of ways to win. And to enter, all you need to do is rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or both if you really want to show us the love. And if you can give us a heartfelt testimonial about what the show has meant to you and leave us a 5-star review, then take a quick screenshot of your review and upload it to our Google form, which you will find in the show notes. And the giveaway will run for a little over 2 weeks, starting today through February 16th. Thank you so much for your support and for helping the show to reach more listeners so we can touch more people's lives and really go deep on this journey together. We appreciate you. Hi, Adriane. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I was thinking that I'd like to explore with you some of my feelings and reactions to all of the abundance that I'm experiencing in my life. It feels strange to bring that as a topic, but I think that I feel anxiety around some of the abundance that I have in not being as needed in my business that allows me to really focus on homeschooling. And then also in our business, we've been blessed and are experiencing abundance from a financial standpoint too. And I run into, I don't know, feelings of uncertainty around budgeting and allocating funds, even though there's really not a scarcity issue there. But it's just very hard for me to say, okay, these are our projected sales and projected expenses. I just, I feel a lot of tension inside me as I think about the financial side of things, and also as I think about just balancing my time between homeschooling and working. And it's both of those things feel like they come together as, could I be more open to the abundance?
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing I see, right, is like you're showing me all the mental energy and chatter, and there's a lot that goes swirling around in your thoughts moment to moment about this, but also just it seems to me that you live a lot of time in your head. Would that be correct to say?
Oh, yes, I think that's very, very accurate. Always thinking of five more things I could be doing or should be doing in the moment.
Yeah. And this, it's so common, right, with our monkey mind and our humanness and all the things. And part of our journey as a human being is to find a place within us, right, that is outside of all of that noise and where we can just view it. Like I see you like being kind of in the center of your body, and the thoughts are still swirling, like they're going around like a merry-go-round, but you're just more sitting there curious, watching them, wondering, as opposed to being on one of the horses going up and down on the merry-go-round. And so, because you have time and space and resources, there's this invitation for you to carve out time for you to really be deeper in those practices. That's one part of it, though. So, how much time do you give to yourself for reflection and like being with your thoughts in a different way than being absorbed by them?
That's interesting. And I do feel like it varies, and probably though it's not very much. At times I might sit and journal for 10 or 20 or 30 minutes, but it's not something that's consistent, but yet it is something that I do appreciate that time, but I don't carve it out routinely.
It feels like that could be very supportive for you. Like there's this, like an anxiety, right, that's present. And there's this sense that part of you needs to know that there is an allotted time every day for this part. It's kind of like that idea that it reminds me of when we have kids, and if they're like, mommy, mommy, or daddy, daddy, and they always want our attention, that if we can carve out special time for them each day, it soothes the part of them that is constantly like at us. And it's like that, but for you. The little child in you needs to know that she matters and needs some like, oh, I get some special Adriane time at 5 o'clock today. So I can like relax a little bit because I know I'm going to get it. And I'm not always wondering when she's going to have time for me.
Oh, wow, that it really resonates. And I think that the less I give myself that time, the harder it is to like get back into it. But I think about, and it was probably even a few months ago where I had some insights around like these different parts of me and how do the different parts talk or respond depending on who's speaking loudly, most loud. And that, yeah, that inner child was one of those. Yeah, I just don't have those insights if I don't give myself that time.
Mhm.
And then the wondering of when I would have it. Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm. So it's like there's two lives that you're showing me. There's the you that is the business owner, the mother, the wife, the I'm the queen of the castle type of life. And then there's the spiritual you that is seeking something deeper underneath all of that. And the sensation is that like they're separate right now, whereas what your soul wants is for them to be more integrated. And so it's like when you're not carving out that time, you're saying to yourself, like the spiritual part, and this is not necessarily conscious, right? This is just what I'm interpreting from the way that you're being with these parts. They really want to be as important. Your spiritual and personal development wants to have a lot of weight in your life. It wants to be more of your existence. Yet you're keeping them separate. You're like, well, I can do that when I have time for it, but now I've got to go be the queen of the castle and do all this stuff for all these other people. And what I sense in you, right, is this other spiritual, your soul is like, hey, hey, me, I need you. We got to integrate these parts. You can no longer keep them separate. What are we going to do about this?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So true.
So I want to feel into this part, right, where you've got this, what's the word? Like incongruency in the abundance that is being provided for you, that you've created for your life, that you are experiencing in this lifetime, and then this other part of you that is uncomfortable with that, let's say, right? And I see the same setup where you're keeping them separate. It's almost like, so what I see is you lived a very deeply spiritual life before, but you were very poor. Like you lived in, I don't know if it's a monastery, but it's like a spiritual building and had a life that was very secluded and all about worship and experiencing the divine, but with lack, going without, right? Like you feel cold and hungry and you're like, but I have God, so I'm okay. But that life, like I see it filtering into this life in the sense that you're confused that you want to have this spiritual part of you, but it ties into this part about when you were so deeply spiritual, you also lacked a lot. And then now here you are in abundance. And there's a part of you that's terrified that if you follow that spiritual path, you're going to be hungry and cold again. So it's like the merging of these worlds where your belief system, like an old belief system that tells you that in order to merge these lives, you will have to give up everything that you've created and everything that you've been gifted with in this life. And, right, you chose abundance in this lifetime. This is part of your soul. Like your soul needs this. It's part of your life plan. We learn through contrast, and you've already learned and lived through the spiritual life where you went without. You're here in this life to experience a spiritual life with abundance because you need to, as a soul, know both sides of the equation. That was a lot that I just dropped on you. I'd love to hear what you're making with that.
Well, it rings so true. I mean, yeah, it resonates. It brings me to tears because it feels like it's just so accurate and relieving, I suppose, also. Yeah, I would definitely the Queen of the Castle side resonates, the spiritual seeking resonates, wanting to know more about what is that spiritual seeking? What does that mean? And so right now I am trying to weave it into our homeschooling and different conversations with my kids on spirituality and religion. And then just the whole thought of being deeply spiritual, but in a lacking situation. Yeah, it feels like that makes so much sense. And yet, just kind of realizing that I don't have to live through that again, but I also don't have to have that worry of a loss of abundance either.
Yeah. Just seeing what else wants to come through for you. So, it's like the words are fear of squandering. So, this part of you that it's like you can't let in the true gifts that you have because you're afraid that you're going to misuse them in some way. What do you understand or know about that part of you?
Just in like the current sense of questioning if resources are being used in a good way. Again, that perfectionist, is it the best possible use of time or money? And then, I've also just kind of felt in the past about what you said about like the lack or like being in a situation of lack and always needing to make sure that we're using up everything. I would never throw out leftovers. I would figure out how to make them into a soup or something.
Yeah, that's being a good steward, right? Of the land, of the resources of the planet, of what is available so that you're taking a correct amount. And
Mhm.
whatever is correct is going to be not the same for everybody because we all come here with different purposes, different things that we are trying to learn. And we choose different experiences so that we can learn it in the best way for ourself and our soul. And it's like you're showing me this other life too. It's triangulating with this life. So there's the one side where you had this scarcity, and then you're showing me another life where you did squander, where you did misuse. It's like the life there, you took advantage of people to get ahead. And so this life, it's like another version, right, of learning the same lesson. And what I sense from this life, like I can see the thread of karma that's coming back from that life to this life. The intention of this life is to clear karma from that life. And you are doing it like the way that I see it. It's like a big sigh of relief, like, oh, okay. Thank you. Like I'm cleaning up those mistakes, right? Because this is how we learn. We have to come in all the contrast. And it's very, very common that we live lives where we aren't in integrity and in the highest good of all. And it's just part of the way it works. So I don't say that. I don't want you to feel guilty or go into like, oh my goodness, I was mean or horrible in that lifetime. It's not about that. It's more about our soul learning and then seeing how you are actually clearing that karma through this life that you're living and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, wow, that I can just feel resonance with all of that.
Where would you like to go from here? How can I support you?
I think this just feels like a really good place. I feel like this has been a lot of clarity. I suppose if there's anything else that comes through from like the spiritual seeking standpoint and guidance or next steps, directions, I'd be open for any of that input, but I'm also happy with where we're at right now.
Well, you're bringing me back around to where we started with the swirling of the thoughts and the invitation to really put some effort and attention to this because our thoughts are all connected, right? We're one species, human being, and we share energy, we share emotions, we share thoughts, we share beliefs, we share intentions, all of it. And our mind is intended to be a receiver of information and inspiration. Yet, that's not where we are as a species. Our mind has taken over and it is caught in survival mode and it is frantic. And where we're at, right, in our evolution, in our societal and our cultural systems and beliefs needs some work, let's just say. And if we are not incredibly aware, we will just get hooked into that and that will feed into us and we will believe it's us. So it's especially important to spend time detaching yourself from the collective mind. And that's your personal time, right? That's your journaling, your meditation, your breathing, whatever those things are that nourish you and allow you to be connected to a deeper whole. You get to be underneath the franticness and you connect to the whole that is humanity in its oneness, let's say, right? Where your thoughts aren't on autopilot, but they are more chosen by you. And then you're open for when the inspiration arrives. Like there's a space for that
Yes.
information to settle, right? Because it's not clouded up with everybody else's thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
So, a big step for you to merge these worlds is that you make your spiritual practice as important, if not more, than as your queendom, right? Your queen of the castle. This
Mhm.
world has to have as much importance as that world.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And it's something that I want to do. Yes, I need to carve out the time for it, but I've also, hard on myself on like, why can't I be more disciplined to like have my quiet time as opposed to just saying it's something that I want to do, I enjoy to do. When will it feel good to do it today?
Yeah. For me, right, I put my time on my calendar first, and then I schedule everything else around it. That didn't happen overnight. That was a process. And now it's the first thing I schedule. Obviously, if my kid is sick or things happen, then the schedule gets adjusted. But I put my spiritual life first.
Yeah, I can see the need for that.
It does change everything.
Yeah, I can make that a focus. Feels good.
And start small, right? Even if it's just 5 minutes, like that's the most important thing. And then you build up. You're also working, like, remember, you're working against an incredibly, what's the right word? Like, solid belief, cultural belief that tells you that pausing, resting, doing things that you love for fun is totally unproductive.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not just fighting, or fighting's not the right word, but you're not just moving through your own belief and limitation. You're pushing against a giant cultural wound. So it takes a sec for you to keep reminding yourself that actually putting yourself first is going to be the thing that makes you the happiest and changes your life the most.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And little steps towards that. It's
Mm-hmm.
very possible.
Yeah, prioritizing, right? What's important. And knowing that it's all important, right? It's not an either or, it's a both and.
Hmm.
Your kids don't have to go without because you're taking time for yourself. It's both. Your kids get more of you because you're taking time for yourself.
Right. And they get the better version of me, and we just had a great conversation this morning about being grounded in the sense of like connected to the earth and feeling like you can sway with the wind and not get blown over and ticked off. And that was a bit of intuition in the middle of the night. So I think my goal is that I will spend more time with myself on purpose during daylight hours so then I don't have to be forced to have that time in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a win-win for everyone.
Yes. They're like, we want these messages to come through to you. However,
Yeah.
it has to happen. Mhm. Oh, well, does this feel like
Yes.
an okay place to land today?
Yes, this is very great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.